But
for
Jake,
what?
you're a product of a culture, and you're a product of an environment that we have all, like, we're of different generations, you and I, but trust me when I say, like, the male gender role hasn't changed that much in the United States. Like, when I was growing up, you could either be Richard Simmons or Clint Eastwood. Those were your two choices. There was nothing in between. There was no nuance. And I raised two sons, you know, who are now 25 and 27. How many times, I'm not even looking at your wife right now, how many times has your wife had a difficult day and called one of her female friends and just talked about the fact that, like, she had something frustrating happen or difficult happen, and her friend just, like, listened to her and was just there, and they just went like, oh man, that's so tough. You're doing so good. I'm so, like, you know, like, I know you're so hard on yourself, but you're doing so good. You're one of the best moms I know. You're one of the best people I know. Of course you'd, right? How many times have you called a male friend and said, I'm just having such a hard time, man, and I'm just really, I'm gonna tell you the answer is very few, very, very few, because men don't do that from a really young age. Go in a room with 200 high schoolers, 100 boys, 100 girls, and say to them that question.
I had one of my best friends from high school. I sent him, when I graduated high school, I sent him this 3-paragraph text. Hey man, I loved, you know, all this time we spent together. It meant so much to me. I got so close to you. There's this time and this time and this time. And I hope we can stay close because you mean a lot to me. Blah, 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 blah. 3 more paragraphs. And he responded with 2 words, you're gay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my friend and I, who has a big emotional vocabulary like I do, like, I would have responded to that with like an 8-page text of like, oh my God, man, I feel so, like, because there are some men that, I have an older sister, so I grew up around a lot of women. So I developed like the vocabulary of women. And it was really awful in grade school and high school because every guy was like, whatever, queer. And everybody, and the women like kind of didn't know what to do with me. And then I got to college and I was broke. So like my favorite date would be like, oh, do you want to like go to the diner and we'll just like talk? And like girls were like, yes, you know. Now, every woman I've ever dated laughs because like when their friends are like, yeah, I can't get my husband to talk, and they're just like, wow, I do not have that problem. Like, I can't get mine to shut the fuck up. But the truth is, like, in this situation, we're not accustomed to having that kind of emotional vocabulary.
I'd like to think that I'm usually emotionally in tune with, I hope.
I mean, I'll give you that, but I'll also do like the flip side of it, which is that you are good at being emotional with other people, being emotionally vulnerable with other people. You're not as good as my girlfriends or frankly my mom, like when I want to complain about something or I just want to bitch and they're not giving me solutions. They're not, like they're just like, yeah, that sucks. That situation sucks. The whole thing was terrible. When you've gotten much, much better at it. But sometimes when somebody wants to bitch or complain to you, you want to come up with a solution. You're good at being emotionally vulnerable with other people, but then maybe when, you know, it's time to just like let somebody be emotional with you kind of are just like, let me kind of solve the problem.
And by the way, she's not trying to make you one of her girlfriends. She's not. She's going to get frustrated when you're not sometimes. And that's okay. But she's not trying to she would be miserable if you suddenly became one of her girlfriends. If you suddenly became her mom in the way that you interacted with her, she'd be very disappointed. She married you. She married a husband. That part of you that frustrated her in that interaction, the part of you that's like, wait, let's look at this logically. Here's what we'll do. Here's the arguments for it. Explain to me the arguments against it. Let's figure it out. She hates it when it's pointed at her, but oh my God, when it's pointed on her behalf, it's a superpower. It's wonderful because she's got all this emotion and she's thinking of both sides and she's so empathetic. Like every woman I know, pretty much, they see this 360 view of things emotionally, and we're very linear and like, no, let's untie the Gordian knot. Let's figure this out and let's solve the fucking problem. And by the way, they love that about us. They love that about us. And that's okay. But they do sometimes wish that we would like, okay, but that's not what I need from you right now. I'm going to need that from you at some point. I'm going to need that from you when somebody fucks with our kid in grade school and someone's got to make the call and be like, well, wait a minute, I'm not coming. Or if when we got charged the wrong thing and someone's got to go talk to the concierge about it, she loves that she can go, babe, you're on that. And you go, I'm on it, here we go. And you're going to go flex that muscle on that person. But she doesn't like it. She didn't want to marry one of her girlfriends, you know, and you didn't want to marry one of your bros. Like, you did not want to marry that. You go like, all right, so babe, here's the reasons for it. And she's going to go, okay, so the reasons for it, this, all right, that makes sense to me. What about this? You go, already thought of that, you know. Like, you don't want that. Like, the good news is you're not the same person. You're not wired the same way. And you both married, like, there's polarity between the two of you. And that's the good news, and that's the bad news also. Because sometimes you're going to miss the plot of the story that you're writing together. But again, if you can keep coming back to, why is this happening? Like, you wanted to be understood. You wanted to be understood. It's not that you want to be right. You want to be understood. You want the other person to like get it, you know? And you're talking different languages to some degree. You're talking about emotions, you're talking about logistics, but fundamentally, emotions is everything. Like, we are not thinking creatures that sometimes feel. We are feeling creatures that sometimes think. You know, we mostly feel. We're mostly balls of emotion.
Wow. I will try to be more like empathetic and open to your feelings.
I like that Jake's already trying to solve the problem. You see? Jake's like, all right, here's how I will solve this problem. It's not a problem.
I feel
it's not even a problem, but it's not even a problem.
So I want to.
It's just who you are. You're not broken, and you don't need to be fixed. She fell in love with you. She married you for a reason. I love that he can't even look at me. He's like looking down like this. Like, she's like, I'm talking to her about her emotional state, and she's looking at me. I'm talking to Jake about it, and he's like, okay, yeah, that's good. Let's move on to another question as quickly as possible, please. Like, and by the way, it's okay. We're not conditioned to be comfortable with that, you know, but that's a legitimately like real thing. Now, you're not broken. You're not doing it wrong. You're not doing marriage wrong. Like, she's not scolding you when she says, hey, you missed it. You missed it. You didn't give me exactly what I wanted in that moment. I promise you, you are going to disappoint her at some point. I promise you, he is going to disappoint you at some point. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be perfect for each other. And you don't have to be perfect to be perfect for each other.
Wow. That's powerful, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm 52, and I struggle. Yesterday was the anniversary of my mother's passing, 9 years. She had a long battle with cancer, and she passed away after a several-year battle of cancer, and yesterday was the anniversary of it. And I was so sad all day. Like, I would listen, any song that came on, like, somehow it just hit different, like everything hit different. And it's so hard, like, as a man to just say, like, I'm so sad. You know, I raised two sons, and like, when boys are sad, it looks like they're mad. Like, it looks like they're angry. Like, because we get told it's okay to be angry. Like, men, it's okay to be angry, you know? Like, the angry man is like a thing. Like, and an angry man's like powerful, right? And like every movie, an angry man has power. You know, it is a superpower to be able to like realize that it is incredibly strong to be able to admit that you're sad. Like, there is nothing stronger than gentleness, and there is nothing more gentle than real strength. I had an experience after my mom died, about like a year after she died. I was in this health food store that my mom used to go to pretty often. And I used to, every once in a while, like, I would go in there and she would go in there, and we didn't know that the other was there. And I would just run into her and I'd be like, hey, you? And she'd be like, oh, what are you doing? You know, and she'd been dead for like a year. And I'm walking down the aisle and I look over and I see like the back of a woman, like, she looked exactly like my mom. Like, it was this little gray-haired lady, you know, and she's just looking at the shelves, and like, I could just see the back of her, and she was dressed kind of like my mom used to. I mean, old ladies kind of dress the same, like, but she was dressed, you know, like my mom used to dress, and she had hair like my mom had when my mom had hair. And for like a second, the wind got knocked out of me. And I thought to myself, because I'm odd, I thought to myself, what would happen if I walked up to that lady and I said, excuse me, you don't know me, but my mom died and you look like her. Could I just like give you a hug? And I thought, well, she'd think I'm nuts. She'd think I'm nuts, so I won't do it. And then I thought to myself, if I was walking in a store or anywhere and someone came up to me and said, excuse me, I have a son and he looked just like you and he died. Can I give you a hug? I would hug the shit out of that person. Like not only could you hug me, I'll come to your house. You can make me meatloaf if you want. Like, I would love that. Like, I would love that, you know?
So what happened, dare I ask, with you and your wife?
My ex-wife?
Yeah, you know a lot about
my
relationships.
gosh.
You're very emotionally in
Subject
tune.
change, yeah.
So why didn't you guys?
I think my emotional attunement probably was helpful to me in the decision to divorce. My ex-wife and I met when we were 18. We were in college together. What we had in common is that she liked that I was 6'2" and kind of like a take charge, interesting guy and funny. And I liked that she was funny and had big boobs. That was kind of all we had in common. But in college, that's pretty good. That's kind of all you need in college. Like, you know, we would hang out.